we talk about the seven churches, we're talking about the ecclesia, or the called out ones. And you know, you can't help but go into, when you're looking into a study like this, you can't help but go into, um, how this leads to what the reformers did. Okay, um, meaning the quote, when they say that their church fathers, what they've actually done unto the holy manuscripts. But it's important that we go into getting the understanding where where they get this doctrine, or the way that they teach the holy manuscript, to truly find out what is the narrative that Yeshua HaMashiach, that he had foretold. Because we know that when we read in the book of Revelation, it's the revealing of the things that were written. Okay, it's revealing that all the prophecies, and all prophecies have not been fulfilled yet, right? Thing is that we live in a time, these particular churches, we can reference that all the way back to the first century, dear family. Just bringing it full circle, these particular churches, now we know that before 1524 there was no such thing called church. And that particular word, church, that word, there's some, I don't want to just say speculation, because we don't speculate, but it ties closely to the house. When you look at where it comes from the house of the Lord, right? Lord, or masters. And also that word church ties closely to like a circle to serpents, right? But when we look at this, and I've given you some backdrop on bringing the information out on how the replacement theologists, right, how they brought forth their dispensations, and tried to break down Bible history in different, what you would call, dispensations. And then they totally did it. Some of them believe that Israel is no longer God's people. He dealt with them in the Old Testament, but in the New Testament, he's dealing with his church. So it's important, and I brought that on part one. So this time, dear family, without explaining or over-explaining, I would encourage every single one of whoever comes across this video to do your due diligence as well. Look up these things, replacement theology. Look up the quote unquote church fathers. Look up the Reformation. Okay, look up the Renaissance period. You look up these particular things, and you begin to find that there was some mixing of taking the holy manuscripts, and then they would spin their narrative on it, and place themselves in it. So, but when we read the manuscript, we know that John the Revelator, right, if you will, he was banished to the Isles of Patmos. And on there, he was given this revelation of these seven churches. And these seven, and I'm saying churches in layman's term, these ecclesias. So the ecclesia are the called out, or the set apart ones. And these particular ones, they had some things that they're supposed to be following of Hamashiach and the apostles or disciples of Yeshua. They kept that same doctrine. They kept that same teaching. We learned that in part one, Lucian, right, he was a Gentile. He was born somewhere in the 2nd century to the 3rd century, and he learned under the Judites that were in Judea. He learned under the ecclesia that was in Jerusalem. Okay, and he was competing. He was literally trying to tell. He was a studier of the Most High's word, and he wanted to follow the holy manuscript. He believed that the scriptures, that no man is above, no organization, meaning the quote unquote their set up church, right? That they cannot, and when I say their church, we're talking about the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, that they cannot set up dogma, which is a set of rules or principles, how things are supposed to be ran in order. So that's important that we know these things. It's important that we know history. So when we look at the manuscript, that we come to find out that in these particular churches that there was a remnant of true believers who followed after Hamashiach. So without further ado, dear family, let me just state this, that Yeshaya had some issues with some of the particular churches, and he pointed those things out. So when Yeshaya gave the revelation to John the Revelator, he told him things that, what he was going to be looking for. He told him he told him things that he was pleased with. He told him things that he was displeased with. And he also warned them of his coming and of their conduct to go back to their first love unless he comes and removes their candlestick. So this is a wonderful, wonderful study, dear family. I hope that you're able to, I hope that you're able to be edified. I'm hoping that it enriches you, opens up your spiritual understanding, and that really increases your vocation. And ultimately, that, dear family, that for each of us who are really living and want to dedicate and devote our lives to the Most High, that we are able to examine ourselves and see where we are in these particular, those 7 churches, okay? Because that actually applies to the end time. So we gave some history on these particular 7 churches, being that there was Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, and those are the ones that we read up to so far. Those 1, 2, 3, those 4, and then I said we were going to pick up on the 5th one, which was Sardis.